All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we will go ahead and kick off the meeting. Again, my name is Connie Sparks, and I am one of the business advisors and trainers for the SBDC. And so today, I'm going to be walking you through the fundamentals of business planning, which I will also include some tips, some different strategies and approaches that you can take in developing your business plan and just really creating a very effective and strategic plan, right? So I've been working with small business owners for, I don't know, probably about 23 years now on developing business plan, business development, financing, and business modeling. And so this is one of those areas that I find to be very, very crucial, especially today, in today's time, and how we are shifting into a whole new different environment, should I say, as a result of COVID. And so as I move forward in my presentation with the business plan and the PowerPoint, again, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to best structure each of the sections in your business plan. And again, just give you some tips and some additional resources as well to help you find key information that you will need. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to raise your hand or use the chat, and I will try to answer your question as soon as I possibly can. And also note that, unfortunately, I'm unable to provide you with a copy of the presentation unless I get approval from Catherine to do so. But otherwise, you are more than happy or more than welcome to take screenshots of any of the slides that are of interest to you. And at the end, if there's some slides that you missed, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to roll back the presentation and so that you can capture any of the slides that you missed. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward. Now, I always like to begin with some of the common mistakes of preparing a business plan. You know, as I mentioned, I've had many, many years of not only working with developing business plans, but reviewing them, critiquing them, participating in a lot of these pitch contests. And I will say I've been very successful with a lot of my awardees, should I say, those who have participated in these business plan pitch contests and have won. So that's why Catherine wanted me here with you today, so that I can give you some really good guidance on preparing a really good, effective business plan. So some of the common mistakes. If you're going to use the business plan for financing, you want to keep it between 15 and 25 pages. If you are a new business, you definitely want to use the capacity, which is 25 pages. I wouldn't go more than that, and that does include the financials, all right? If you're using it for your own edification as a growth strategy, I would say 10 to 15 pages would be sufficient, with the exception, you know, with the 25 pages, you are including a lot of the supportive research information, which really helps, you know, to increase that, get you to that 25 pages. But if it's for your own edification, then yeah, 10 to 15 pages, less the research information, that would be sufficient. And, you know, also I would recommend that you have really good, realistic, and reasonable expectations. And that, when I'm referring to expectations, I'm thinking about both growth as well as revenue. Now, I do believe in being, you know, thinking big, being optimistic, but I also believe in being very realistic, especially for financing. And the reason why is because if you, let's just say for your numbers, if you put together your financial projections and you're being overly optimistic, then that's going to tell a lender that you really didn't do your homework. Right. So you really don't know your numbers. You don't know the market. You're really, really taking a wild guess at this. Right. And sometimes that just doesn't go well in your favor with an underwriter if your numbers are too inflated. Whereas if you were to project more conservatively, that would be on the realistic side, or on the realistic side. And that really does come with you understanding the research, your competitors. So later on, I'm going to give you some resources where you can find some of that information, so that as you're preparing your projections, you'll be a little bit more in alignment with some of your counterparts. And with regards to growth, you want to make sure that as you're doing your research, you are looking for, and there is information out there about your industry, right? Like either you can go to an industry association's website within your space to find out what's the average growth rate for a service business of your type, or if you're product based, what is the average growth rate for that type of business? Because you don't want to, for example, project our business is going to grow at 35%, year one. Is that realistic? It's not. Not for a startup. On average, for a startup, if you're a service based, if you're lucky and you're profitable, you will see an average of 6 to 10% that year one. If you are product based, on average, you should see or expect a growth rate of 15 to 23%. If you're food, technology, or in the healthcare business, that's usually your higher margin rate. And that can range anywhere from, from a 25% to a 38%. So again, it really does help to do the research and really know what your industry, your market growth rate is. Because you don't want to project something and the underwriters taking a look at it, or potential investors are looking at your information, they start asking you questions, and you can't really give them a really good answer as to how you came up with those numbers. So do the research. That's going to be very important. You also want to be able to demonstrate your management skills. And I'll talk more about that as we get into the operations section and the marketing section. I'm sorry, your company summary. And then we have your marketing strategy. Now, this is equally important for whether it's for your own edification as creating your growth strategy, or if you are presenting this to a financier, right? The marketing section is your meat and gravy. This is telling, your reader how you're going to make money and how you're going to grow the business. So from a lending perspective, a lender or private investor, the most important sections to them are your company summary, your marketing section, and your financial section. Those are the three most important sections to any financier. It doesn't matter what type of lender they are. Those are the three most important sections, because it's telling them very key, crucial information about your mindset, your business model, and how you're going to scale the business forward. You also want to make sure that when you are preparing your business plan, or even if, let's just say if you were to hire someone to prepare your business plan, it's very important that you have a voice in developing that business plan. Because from my conversations with lenders and private investors, I'm always asking questions. What do they look for in a really good business plan or business model? What do you look for when you're reading a business plan? And some things that really, the one thing that really stood out to me in all of the conversations that I've had was about identifying or realizing the difference between a boilerplate template business plan and a business plan that the owner really took time to work through, that include their passion, their emotions, their tone. So be very, very mindful if you hire someone that you have a voice in it, because you want to make sure that it's not reading like a boilerplate, something very general, something that was pulled off of the internet, or someone pulled it from a previous client's business plan and just tweaking it to customize it to, to your work. You want to make sure that, how you speak, it really carries in the business plan. How you, certain language that you use, it should also be included in the business plan. Your passion. Now, I don't know, for me and for most of the lenders, especially private investors, when they're reading your business plan, they can feel the passion, if there's passion there in your business plan, through your words, through your tone, through your language. And so that's how they can tell, again, if it's a boilerplate or if it's something that you really took time and you really put your heart and soul into preparing this business plan. So make sure that you have really good passion and emotions throughout the development of your business plan. And you want to make sure it's very clear to the reader. And when I say very clear, don't use a lot of jargon, right? You want to use some industry language, of course, but you don't want to use a lot of jargon, because from a lender perspective, they are not in your industry. So you may use language or some jargon that they're not familiar with. And so the message you're trying to convey is going to go over their head, because they don't understand the jargon that you are, that's written in your business plan. So try to be very, think of it from a layman's term. Lenders always tell me, kind of when you're working with your clients or you teaching your class, help them to understand when they're developing their business plan, to create it as though they are writing something for a ninth grader. And it's not to demean anyone, but the reason why they say that is because, again, they don't know your industry. So you're in essence educating them. You're teaching them about your industry. They're learning about your industry. They're learning about your business. And so again, if you're using jargon, or you have a kind of wacky structure in your business plan, then it's not clear to them. So you want to make sure that your business model and your language is very, very clear to the reader. All right. And then also you want to make sure that you include realistic projections. When I say realistic, as I mentioned before, doing the research, understanding what the average market is or the average revenue is for your counterparts that have been in business 1 to 3 years. If you are a startup, if you've been in business for a number of years, then you want to look at companies that have been in business. Let's say if you've been in business 5 years, so you're looking for someone that's been in business 5 years plus. Don't look at a company that's been in business 1 to 3 years, because the numbers is not going to. It would be like comparing apples to oranges. And again, I'll get more into that and give you some resources a little later. So now I want to dive into preparing your business plan. So your business plan is really like a living document. This is a document that should be reviewed and revised every quarter. Every 3 months, you should be reviewing your business plan. You should be updating your business plan, because as you know, our market, our economy, your customers, the industry is constantly changing and evolving. And so you want to make sure that your business plan is able to shift and accommodate, adapt to these shifting changes, right? And so that's why I recommend that you revisit your business plan every 3 months, every quarter. Now, another point to preparing your business plan, how you package it, right? And so when you're packaging your business plan, a few things that I would recommend. One is that you have it spiral bound. So after you've prepared your business plan, and always make 3 copies, then you want to have it spiral bound. You can go to Office Depot or Staples, or FedEx and Kinko, if they're still around. Go to one of these establishments and have them spiral bound 3 copies. You should always have 3 copies on hand at all times. your cover page should be on a semi-gloss cardstock paper. I wouldn't do a glossy paper because it captures fingerprints and it sticks, and then it just really looks unprofessional when there's just a lot of handprints on your cover page. So a semi-gloss, kind of between a matte and a glossy, is more sufficient. For the inserts, I would use a bright white presentation paper. The presentation paper is really bright and it is very white. And the reason why I recommend that is because it is so bright, it really makes your words stand out and it makes the document look very professional. So a bright white presentation paper would be sufficient. On the back, you want to make sure you either use a black or a blue cover. So you have your semi-gloss cover page, but on the back of that document of the business plan, you want to use a black or a blue back cover. And then in terms of formatting, you want to use a 11 and a half, or a 12 size font. The fonts I would recommend are Garmin, Cabrilli, Arial, and Times Roman. So any one of those would be sufficient for your business plan. And then again, you have the 11 and a half, and then the 12. Now, in terms of spacing, I would recommend using a 1.15 or a 1.5. Never do a single space or a double space, because if you do a single space, depending on that font, it can make your information, your content look kind of bunched up. And if you are having other people read it, if they have vision problems, then it's going to be kind of difficult for them to read. And then if you do a double space, it really just makes the business plan look off. And I've seen them all. So do not use a double space or a single space. And then when you are really speaking into your business plan, I would use us, we, and ours. And never use I, me, mine, or my, even if you're a solopreneur. And the reason why is because when you're presenting a business plan, it should be presented as though you have this amazing team behind you that's helping to grow and develop your business, right? So it doesn't matter if it's an external team or an internal team. You want to project your business plan as though you have a solid team behind you that's helping you develop and grow your business. So it's we, us, and our. And then when you are addressing yourself as the owner, I would say principal. I would use either principal or founder or business owner. If you have partners, then you want to use co-founders. All right. So, and that should be consistent all the way through the business plan. Now, for the sections within the business plan, I'm going to walk you through a basic template. There are dozens or hundreds of templates out there, so it doesn't matter what template you decide to go with. The information that I'm presenting to you using the basic template, it's still relevant in any, and should I say it's comparable or compatible to any other template that you're going to use, because the sections are the same. The titles may be different, but the sections and the information that is required will be the same. So it doesn't matter what template that you use. So for today's purpose, I'm going to walk you through the executive summary, a company summary, your product summary, your marketing strategy, operational plan, and then the financials. Now, I'm not going to dive into like the financial projections or things of that nature, because we have another advisor, Charles Yakubian, that will present the financial strategy aspect of this. So I'll just give you the basics of what financial documents are required and should be included in your business plan. Okay. Now, when you are developing the business plan, it's important to work backwards. And when I say work backwards, meaning that you want to start with a vision, right? So you're starting with your vision, and it makes it easier to develop the business plan, right? Because when you have a vision, you have the big picture, you see this, you know how you want your business, how you want your business to look in the next 3 years. And so it makes it easier as you're developing each of the sections, because you're looking back, okay, this is my vision, and this is how I'm going to achieve this. These are my goals. So that's why it's important to always start with a vision. And when you're creating your business plan, so the first page would be your table of contents. And on the table of contents, it should be numbered, right? Both the sections and your subsections. And then following the table of contents should be another sheet, another page that is your vision statement. And it may read our company's vision or our vision statement, however you choose to head it. And then underneath that should be your vision. It should be a 3-year vision, and it can be 1 paragraph, it can be 2 paragraphs. But you really want to highlight things like, what is your financial goal? So by year 3, what do you expect your revenue, to look like? If you're talking about growth, is that, do you need to hire more people by year 2 or by year 3? How many clients would you like to have, or how many contracts would you like to have? If you are working from home, but by year 3, the goal is to have a brick and mortar, a storefront, whatever that may be. So 1 paragraph really would be sufficient. But if you decide to go 2, that's absolutely perfectly fine. But it should be on its own page, heading our company's vision or our vision statement. And then that's what you're going to use to develop your business plan. Now, where most people make their mistake when they prepare a business plan, they go section by section. So they'll start with executive summary because it's the first section, not realizing that the executive summary is always the very last page to complete. And the reason why is because the executive summary is an overview of what a reader should expect to read or find in the remaining sections of your business plan. But if you start off with the executive summary first, then it's not going to make sense because you haven't developed the other sections. So that's why it's very important to always create the executive summary last. After you've completed the financials, then you want to go into your executive summary, because you're going to pull a lot of information from the other sections to complete your executive summary. Now, your executive summary should not be more than 3 pages. And you want to make sure to include, you're going to talk about the different products that you're offering, who your customers are. And when you're talking about your products or services and your customers, you want to just give an overview. Don't go into a lot of details. Just give a summary, about your products, the type of products and services that you offer, who your customers are, right? And why are you targeting these particular customers? But again, you're going to get that information from like your product summary section. Okay. When you're talking about the owners, here I will say, I think you should, have at least a paragraph on the owners, on the business owners. If there's 2, then you want to incorporate information from your company summary about both you as the principal owner and then the co-founder as well. And then you're also going to include, things like, what do you think, or what do you see the future of your company? And that information, again, you're going to get from your product summary. So do you see where I'm going with this? I've created a list of questions for you to help you develop your executive summary to make it easier for you. But again, make sure you don't go beyond the 3 pages. 1 to 3 pages is sufficient, but I will say if you do 1 page, I don't think that's going to be enough to really give a good overview of your business model and your vision. You're also going to include what issue you are addressing, why it's an issue, where is the issue, and what is your solution. So in essence, with these 4 questions, you are telling the reader why you are starting this business, or why you are running this business, or trying to grow this business. That's what those 4 questions lead to. And so a lot of the information you're going to get from your company summary. You're also going to include your ask. If you're going to use the business plan for finance, you want to make sure to include how much capital you are asking for, how you're going to repay it, and then how you're going to use it. And so when you're developing your ask section, I would recommend that you frame it as such. Our company is seeking $250,000 to purchase equipment, to hire an employee or part-time employee, for marketing. So whatever you're going to use the funds for, that's how you're going to frame that. Then you're going to include, our company anticipates generating $450,000 year 1. By year 3, our revenue will have increased by, you can either use percentages or you can use a monetary value, right? So if you're starting at 450, but by year 3, you anticipate the company increasing its market revenue by 38%, or will be earning $860,000 by year 3. But those numbers, you won't get those numbers until you've done your financial projections. So that's why, again, it's important to do the executive summary last, because a lot of the information to answer the questions that I pose here are going to come from information that you've already developed in other sections of the business plan. And before I move on, any questions so far for me? Nope. All right. So then I'm going to continue. So other parts of the executive summary are your keys to success, your mission statement, and your company goals and objectives. Now, for your keys to success, these are your key drivers. So you're going to list 5 to 6 key drivers. Why would customers or consumers want to buy from you or utilize your services? What's going to drive loyalty to your business? What's going to drive brand awareness? So you want to list 5 to 6 key drivers about your business, right? And that can include like your customer service. You have a team with more than 45 years experience collectively. Your product packaging, the type of ingredients you're using, if you're food-based. If you are, doing something, if your company is, focused around sustainability, you may want to use that as one of your key drivers. So really think about the what. So if it's customer service, so, one of our core key drivers is our customer service, and then explain why. Why is your customer service one of your core success drivers? All right. So it's the what and then the why when you're explaining your key to success. Then you have your mission statement. And so these are some of the key elements of your mission statement: the nature of your business, your company goals, who your customers are, the benefits to your customers, and then how you're going to deliver those services or products to your customer. So, and then your mission statement is typically no more than 3 sentences, 45 words. And so you're probably saying, well, how in the world can I get all of these bullets into 45 words or 3 sentences? It can even be your tagline, really, because your mission statement is like, it's your business model. I shouldn't say like, it is, it's your business model. So when someone is asking you, what is your business model? In essence, you are describing your mission statement, and vice versa. If you're giving your 30-second elevator pitch, you're giving them your business model and your mission statement. And so I always recommend looking at some of your counterparts or some of the bigger brands and looking at their mission statement, get an idea how they frame their mission statement. But I think more importantly, to really connect with your target audience, I would recommend crafting a few drafts, right? So, do a couple, or I'm sorry, about 2 or 3 that are considered drafts. And then I would use a site like questionpro.com or surveymonkey.com, and then posing that survey to your social media followers. And if you have a really good extensive database, email data list, you may want to send it out to the people on your data list and ask them to complete it. But if you do that, be very specific and keep it so that it's focused only on the mission statement. And you're just simply asking people to review your mission statements and give you some feedback. This is really going to help you because it's going to give you access to real-time feedback, right? So it's not something that you're going to Google or go on the internet to research, but you're going to get real-time feedback from potential customers, and they're going to tell you what is going to attract them to your business based on your mission statement, the keywords you use, the language that you use. So these are the kind of things you really want to get to know from your target audience as you're developing your mission statement. I did this, well, I shouldn't say I did because I still do this. I do this exercise with all of my clients that I'm working with in developing their mission statement. We craft a few. We then create the survey on SurveyMonkey or Question Pro, and then we get a link, and we have their followers. We ask them to complete the link, and we don't ask for any other information other than what are some keywords that really stands out to you. Why would you want to? Would paragraph 1? I'm sorry, would draft 1, draft 2, or draft 3 really appeal to you and encourage you to work with our company? Something of that nature. So keep your questions about 3 to 5, no more than 5, especially around the mission statement. And I guarantee you, by the end of that period, if you're going to run this for a week or 2, by the end of that period, you're going to have a lot of good feedback that's going to help you really craft a strong mission statement that is going to be appealing to the target audience that you're going after. Now, I want to show you an example. This was one that was created for one of my clients. And your mission statement should be very vague, not too specific, meaning you're not talking about pricing. You're not talking about being specific about the type of products or services you offer. You want to keep your mission statement very vague, okay? And the reason why mission statements are typically vague, because you want to allow yourself room for growth. If you're too specific, for example, if you were to say, our company mission is to service women in the Los Angeles County, area. All right, if I go to your website and I live in Orange County, if I see your mission statement and see that you're only servicing women in Los Angeles, I'm not going to, that's a missed opportunity. I'm not going to go any further on your website or even look at possible services or products because I feel that you're not targeting me. That's why it's important to keep your mission statement vague and not too specific. Some companies, they will list geographic areas. I am totally against that for the reasons I just mentioned. I just think it restricts you, and it doesn't allow you to reach a wider market when you list any type of geographic information in your mission statement. So again, keep it very vague, very simple. I would start with a rough draft. And when I say a rough, or I shouldn't say a rough, but a raw draft, meaning use your recorder, your tape recorder on your phone, and think of it like your 30-second elevator pitch, right? So if someone were to ask you, Catherine, tell me about your business, practice it in your phone, record it so that you will remember it and you can hear it over and over again. And that's going to help you really critique it and then you can start drafting your actual mission statement and then post it to your followers or your data list to receive that feedback. So your mission statement is going to be very, very crucial here. And then moving on to your goals and objectives. And now we're still in the executive summary section. So for your executive summary, let me back up. On the mission statement, you want to make sure that after you have listed your key drivers, underneath your key drivers, I would center and put those square brackets around your mission statement so that your mission statement really stands out and is highlighted. You can bold it depending on what font you use, see what it looks like. If, maybe if you italicize it to really make it stand out. But your mission statement is that should follow your key drivers, your key to success. Okay. And also what I forgot to mention as it pertains to your key drivers, when you're listing those, you can either do them in bullets or you can do it in a narrative form. So either way is perfectly fine as long as you address at least 5 key drivers for your business. Now on the goals and the objectives, this is where you're going to go back to your vision statement. Whatever you wrote out for your vision statement, that's what you want to use. So year 1, we want to achieve XYZ. Those are your goals. The objectives are how you're going to achieve those goals, right? So the goals are what you want to achieve, and then the objectives are how you plan to achieve them. Now, your vision statement is for the company. The mission statement is about the customer. So, and the reason I'm pointing that out, because oftentimes people get the two mixed up or they'll combine the two. I personally do not agree with combining your vision statement with your mission statement, because they're two totally different statements and they represent two totally different things. Again, the vision statement is how you see the company. The mission statement, you're telling your customers, this is how we value you. This is how we're going to service you. So two total different statements. So again, on the goals and the objectives, year 1, these are the things that we want to achieve based on your vision statement. And then year 2, these are the things that we want to achieve, and these are how we're going to achieve them. And then the same with year 3. Now, when you are listing or preparing, completing your goals and your objectives, year 1, if you're starting up, should really be focused on the planning stage, right? So this is where, one of the goals is to complete our business plan, to conduct a full market research. If you are planning on opening up a brick and mortar, to find a mortgage or commercial broker to work with to find a location. So year 1 should be the planning, where you're putting all of your ducks in a row. Year 2 should be the implementation phase. So now you've completed the business plan, you found a location. Now you have to apply for all your business licenses. You need to apply for funding. You're going to now start implementing your business strategy. So that's your year 2. And year 3 should be about growth, right? Expansion. That should be your year 3. So that's the approach that I have found to be very attractive to investors, particularly by breaking it down that way. But again, it should reflect your 3-year vision that you had already created. And then again, that's what you're going to use to complete the remaining sections of your business plan. So now section 2, your company summary. Your company summary should not be more than 1 page. If you have 2 partners, if there's multiple partners, it may carry into 1.5 pages or even 2 pages. So here you're going to start off with where the business will be located, when will it be established, or when was it established? Who were or who are the principal owner or owners of the company? And then what is your legal structure? And then why did you choose that structure? Now, when you're describing your legal structure, you want to, just very simple. So for example, if you're starting off as a sole proprietor, our company is currently structured as a sole proprietorship, as there is one single owner. By year 2 or year 3, we anticipate restructuring our company as an LLC, right, for liability protection as our company begins to grow. So 1 to 2 sentences to describe your legal structure and then why you chose that particular structure. And then following that, you're going to talk about your customers, who you're targeting, who you're going to market your products and services to. And again, like the executive summary, you don't want to go into a lot of details. Be very succinct. Just provide a summary, an overview. Don't go into a lot of details. Then you're going to give a brief history about the business. Now, if you're a startup, you don't have history. So there's really nothing for you to share in terms of history. So that's where this then relies on your personal background within the industry. If you've already been in business for, say a year or more, then you have something that you can share. So you would share any successes you may have had. So for example, you started your business in 2021. By 2022, we were able to bring our company to a profitability position. We have grown our company. We now have, 40 customers, whatever that, success may be. You want to really highlight that. You want to also talk about the nature of the business, some of your main activities, programs or services that you're also incorporating in your business. Talk about the current stage of your business, of the life cycle of the business, right? So what stage are you in? Are you still in the development stage? Are you in the research stage? Where are you with the business? Also talk about any past performances and key achievements. And so that, again, that goes back to as a part of the business history, where you're talking about your performance and any key achievements that you may have had, right? So if your company received an award or was a nominee, right, for a city program, you want to highlight that. And I will tell you, this is one of those important sections for a financier. Right. It is very important to them, because this is where you're getting a chance to really highlight, one, why they should invest in not just the products or the services that you're offering, but into you as one or the principal owner. So this really gives you that opportunity to do so. You're also going to describe your company, your industry's current position, right? Is it a growing industry? Is it a dormant industry? What are some of the changes that are taking place, right? So if you look at 2019, and now I don't want to say post-COVID, because we're still dealing with COVID. How has that changed your industry? And then what aspects of those changes can you capitalize on, or are you planning to capitalize on, right? And then following that, you're going to talk about the company ownership. So the company ownership should be 1 paragraph for each owner. If it's multiple owners, 1 paragraph. Who you are, how many years of experience you have in the industry, what are some of the successes you've had, talk about any degrees or your education, talk about any accolades you may have received over your career. Again, this is one of those very important sections. So you really want to highlight, look at your resume, right? Your professional resume, and highlight a lot of those things that you consider a success in your career. And that's what I would list here. But really what they're going to really look for, and when I say them, I'm referring to a lender. They're going to be looking for, what skill sets or experience do you have that you are going to carry into the business that's going to help you be successful, right? So if you had sales experience, if you worked in retail, customer service is a good skill, to or experience to have as it relates to business. If you've had experience in product development, right? That's a good one. So you think about what skill sets and experience that you have or had, and that's what you want to use here as you are, giving an overview of your background under your company ownership. So one paragraph will be sufficient though. Following that should be your startup projection. Your startup projection chart is a list of all of your initial costs that you're going to need to launch the business. If you have already been in business for some time, then it wouldn't be a startup projection, it would be a growth projection. So it's going to just list the initial costs, one-time costs, not reoccurring. These should only be one-time costs. This is a simple little chart, here, but you really want to use a more detailed projection. If you have Microsoft Office, you can go to Excel, and there you can find a lot of budget documents where you will see a P&L, a balance sheet, a capital investment worksheet. You will also find a starter projection, a cash flow worksheet. So you can find a lot of the financial documents there in under Excel and Microsoft that you can use for your business plan. And when I talk about reoccurring costs, you don't want to include things like a monthly maintenance fee that you have to pay for your website. You don't include payroll because that's a reoccurring cost. Utilities. So anything that's reoccurring, you never want to include. Now, if you're starting up and you have a brick and mortar, of course, that you may have that initial deposit that you may have to pay for your utilities. You can absolutely include that because that's a one-time cost. You just won't include any reoccurring monthly costs associated with your utilities. So following that is your product summary. Now, your product summary, this really gives you an opportunity to highlight your products and services. If you're service-based, non-product, then you can just use service summary versus product summary. So here, your product summary is typically about 1 to 1.5 pages, just depending on how you structure it. You're going to describe your current product. So you can just kind of list the products that you currently have, and you're just going to give a little, 2 or 3 sentences describing each of your products. Same thing with your services. Now, what I do recommend, if you are product-based, I would recommend including little pictures of your products. Lenders are very visual, and so they like to see pictures. So, and your product, so that's why I say 1.5 to 2 pages. If you're product based, include those pictures. So, product 1 or product A, widget, and then a little brief description about that. But then you're also going to include your pricing structure, right? So if you have a multi-tier pricing structure, so in essence, you're describing how you derive or how you plan to, how you're pricing your product, should I say, right? So maybe you'll have a certain payment or flexible payment plan for if you're B2B for new companies. And then you may have a different tier for existing companies that have, a budget of, let's say, 1 million or plus. So you're just going to give just a brief statement about your pricing structures. You're also going to include your future products. And so this is where you talk about what's going to happen after year 3, right? So I like to talk about scaling the business both from a horizontal position and a vertical position. So for example, if you are a, let's say an ice cream shop, and you started out with 10 flavors, 2 brands, but now you want to expand your menu. So now you want to add, so growing vertically up and down, that means you are adding new flavors on top of a brand, right? Growing horizontally, meaning that you're adding new brands or new products. So for example, you have ice cream, but now you're going to add coffee, you're going to add tea, you're going to add, danishes, right? And donuts. So growing horizontally, meaning that you're going to add more brands or more products. Growing vertically, you're adding new flavors or new styles. So when you're talking about scaling, you should always look at that from the perspective of growing both horizontally and vertically. So that's when you're describing the future of your products. You're also going to talk about some of your competitive advantages. And there's a little exercise that I like to walk my clients through in trying to identify competitive advantages, because oftentimes when people are looking at their competitors, and especially if you have the same products, you're like, okay, well, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. So I don't know what makes, what I offer different than what my competitor offers. There is always some differentiating factor. And if there isn't, you have to create a differentiating factor with that product. So one of the things that you can do is create that competitive analysis, but I don't want to really dive into that because I'm going to give you some resources, and then I'm going to show you some examples of what a competitive analysis sheet should look like. And then when you complete that, so actually what I would recommend is that you do not address the competitive advantage part until you have completed the competitive analysis chart. Okay, so that would be my recommendation. And then I'm going to now in a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the exercise that I was referring to. Then you're also going to include what are the benefits of your products and services to your customers. And that's going to go in alignment with the next slide that I'm going to share with you. But then also one thing that a lot of people tend to miss in their business plan, and what is so important today, and that's describing your environmental and or social implication. And so what that means is you're going to give, either 3 sentences or a paragraph describing your environmental and or social impact. So for example, an environmental, if you are a company that's going green, you're using all green products, you're doing, have this recycled thing down, you are, all of the products that you use are based on, sustainable products, and you have gone paperless, right? So that's your environmental. So by you being green, how does this impact your community, right? So it's really about the community. How is what you are doing by being green, how is that helping the environment? How is it helping your community? How is it helping your company? And how is it helping your customers? Then when you look at the social implication, if you are, let's say let's say if you are in the beauty business, and you're really targeting women who have suffered from low self-esteem, have been victims of domestic violence. And so you have a program or a service that's really helping to empower these women, to help them get back on their feet, helping them become a better version of themselves. That's a social implication, right? So how is what you're doing from that perspective, how would that help not just the women, but what the women have now become, how they have transformed and are taking it to their community. So by them being more confident, more self-aware, being more outgoing and involved in their community, how does that reflect onto the next person that they encounter? So those are just some examples of what an environmental implication could be and what a social implication could be, right? So you may have one, you may have both, but I would, whichever you have, one or both, make sure that you address those in one paragraph in your under your product summary. Then following that, you're going to talk about, you're going to describe what is the current life cycle of your product. If you're product based and you're developing a product, if you're in the research phase, have you completed the research, or are you still working through your research? Have you developed a prototype? Is it completed, or is it still in working phase? Have you conducted your in-house testing? Your in-house testing meaning you have a group of people that are testing the product before you take it to market. Customer testing can be surveys, focus groups. If you're product based, maybe you're offering samples to some customers or potential customers. Then market ready means that you've done the research, you've completed the prototype, you've done your in-house testing, customer testing, now you're ready to take it to market. So whichever stage you're in, that's what you want to address. Just a few sentences, no more than a paragraph, to describe where you are in that life cycle. Any questions before I dive into the exercise of products and features? Any questions at all for me? Because I know I've given you quite a bit so far. All right, so if there are no questions, I will move forward. So for your product and features, product features and benefits. So this is an exercise that I like to do with clients because it helps you to really understand your product and then who that product would be a good fit for, right? Because one of the biggest mistakes that I found with entrepreneurs in my research and just in my career working with business owners is that they tend to make assumptions about their customers, right? They assume their customers want this type of feature or this type of product, but not really knowing. And so what ends up happening when you make these assumptions, it becomes a hit and miss with your revenue, right? Because if customer A is saying, this is your primary customer, and they're saying, hey, we want, X, Y, Z, these are our pain points, and we need solutions to address this. But your feature or the benefit of that feature may only address partial of their pain points or nothing at all. And so customers may not buy into that product or service because it's really not addressing their pain point. And so going through this exercise really helps you to match the product with the target audience, right? So the features are the characteristics, and the benefits, how are the customers going to benefit from their product or service, right? And so I would do product A. These are all of the features of this product, and these are all of the benefits of that product. Now, what demographic would greatly benefit from using product A? Okay, so now you have a third column. This is the target audience that would be a good fit to market this product to. Now, as you're going through the exercise, it's also going to help you with identifying some potential competitive advantages, because you may learn through this exercise that competitor A, yeah, they have a similar product, but they're using a different type of packaging, right? Or maybe they make a red velvet cake, but they're using, more, unhealthy ingredients, right? But you're using a more healthier version, of ingredients for your red velvet cake. So you can be making the same red velvet cake, but what's different is the ingredients and then maybe how you process it. So always look for the competitive advantage and the differentiating factor when you're doing this exercise. All right, and then so you would do that with each of your products and services. And then what I would do is under the product summary, when you're listing all of your products, you can create a table if you like, with 3 columns. And again, it can be the features of this product. So this is the product, these are the features, and then these are the benefits. So that will help you really address the current products that you have. And then if you want, you can extend that table and add a future, right? Future products or future services. And if you have any programs or services, or I'm sorry, any programs, special programs that you want to offer, include those under your product summary as well. So it's not just about the product, right? But you want to look at the offerings collectively. So if you have certain products, but you also offer certain services and programs to your customers, you want to make sure to include them. And right, so your services could be, or programs could be, a subscription program, right? And which I think every company should have some type of membership program. You may have a flexible payment plan for your clients, or you may have a layaway plan for your clients. So those are things that you most definitely want to include into your product summary, because I tell you, from a financing perspective, the more offerings, or should I say the more valuable offerings that you have, it really adds value to your business plan, to your business model, to your business. And when the underwriter and an investor look at that, they really, embrace that. So, and I've learned that, through my conversations, that, these are a lot of the things that they look for. And, when they don't see it, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to invest into a business that, really don't have much to offer. If you only have one product or one service, if your market goes down, then where are you going to be generating revenue from, right? Because customers are not buying that product. So that can be a problem. So it's always good to have multiple streams that you can include under your product summary. All right, so for the marketing section, section 4. So now this is where I'm gonna give you guys some resources that I think is really gonna help you in finding a lot of good information. And so I'm gonna give you some research resources. Let me find that here. And I'll also, when we get to the marketing section, I'm going to give you some marketing ideas as well. Okay, networking. Oh, there we go. No, research. Here we go. All right, so now I'm going to dive into the market research and then your strategy and implementation section. So for your market research, there are going to be multiple sections or areas that you're going to want to address. So you have your economic analysis. You're going to have the market and your product trend research that you're going to need to do. And as you're doing this research, you're also thinking about growth opportunities, potential barriers, your target market, and your competition. So all of these things are going to make up your market analysis section. And here shortly, I'm going to show you the next few slides are really, I did the work for you. All you would have to do, if you can capture a screenshot of the remaining slides, because I created the questions that will help you make up each of the following section, the remaining sections of this presentation. But first, I want to just give you some resources here for your market research. And I'm going to put the information here in the chat so that you have that information with you. And I'm going to do research. So we're talking economic research. I would recommend using laedc.com. They have a great research portal. BEA.gov. And census, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't census. Hold on just a second. It's BLS. Oh, where are you? Yes, it's census.gov. Now, the census.gov, it has a lot of great information, excuse me, and they have updated their website, which I'm really happy about because now it's a little bit more user-friendly. It has tons of information on there, but you want to make sure that when you are using the census.gov, that you do very specific filtering so that you're not getting a whole bunch of stuff from other states or other industries that are really not relevant to you. So they have really good filtering features now. So it should make it a little bit easier for you to find information on your industry. And then you want to look for how is your industry being impacted, right, by the economy. Gas prices is rising, rent is rising. How are these things impacting your business? Food prices are rising, right? So these are the kind of things that you want to look for as you're doing your research. Daniela asked, can you please write the information? Yeah, I put it in the chat. Did it not come through on your end? Let me try it again. Hold on. Do anyone else see the in your chat? Do anyone else see my my post? Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, so those are the 3 sites that I would recommend. I really like laedc.com because again, that is they're really keen on industries. But another one that I would recommend is that you go to your industry association's website because they have the more accurate pieces of information. I never recommend anyone just Googling, like statistics for wellness, right? On wellness and beauty industry. I wouldn't recommend that because a lot of information out there is misleading. A lot of it is not accurate. So I always recommend going to reputable sites like your industry website and the sites that I'm giving you. I've spent a lot of years in research and trying to find this information that I can share with you. And more importantly, I wanted to find research information or resources that I can pass on where it would not be a cost to you, because you have a lot of these sites today that are, wanting to charge a fee for information that you can really find through other sources. So I wanted to provide that to you. But as you're going through this, you're also looking for your market trend, your product trend. There's a 5 to 7 year trend for every business. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what kind of products and services you're offering. There is a 5 to 7 year trend. And so you really want to get to know what is your trend. And really that's where census.gov really comes into play, because you can filter, your industry, and you can go back to, I would start with, we're in 2022, I would start with 2020, right? So where was your industry in 2020? If it showed that 2020, there was, 350,000 jobs and the industry was, averaging 15.5 billion dollars, but then 2021 you notice that it's showing the industry has lost jobs, its value has gone down. So then that's telling you that now your industry is going downward, right? So if it's going downward, you have 2020, 2021, 2022, it may still go down just slightly, but then by 2025, it should be starting to peak again. So that's why it's always good to start back to go back 2 years and then look forward, right? Because that's going to really help you in capturing that information. Oh, thank you, Catherine, for answering that for me. And then some other good sites that you want to take a look at for your market and product trend. So we're going to do market trend. I would use nrf.com, statisticbrain.com, Statista. Oh, okay, I'm missing this one. Statista, there we go. Statista.com. No, it's just laedc.com, not economic. I put economic so you know that that's the research is for your economic. So it's just LAEDC, Susan. Okay, so here are some, as I mentioned, nrf.com, statisticbrain.com, and statista.com are three sites I really do like to identify product and market trends, right? So when you're thinking about your market trend, this is like, where are your customers spending their money? Where are they finding your products? How are they finding the products, right? So this is key information that you want to know. And what I like best about nrf.com is that when you sign up for their online subscription, you will get access to what I call their backdoor portal, which is their research site. This then allows you to get access to their filter, which is absolutely amazing and is real-time information. And what I mean by that is real-time information is that every 6 to 9 months, they are updating their information. Whereas most of these other websites, they update their information every 1 to 3, maybe even 5 years. So with NRF, you're getting real-time information. So as an example, let's say that Susan wanted to know, where are customers finding her product? So she would filter the type of product she have. And then she'll, think there are a couple of other drop downs following that. And then she'll hit submit. And so it's going to populate a chart, and it's going to tell her where people are finding her products, like if it's online, if it's through social media, if they're looking, purchasing from magazines, or if it's through direct mail, it's going to give you that information. It will also tell you if she want to know how much do they spend annually for her type of product, it will tell her that information. If she wanted to know what is the percentage of men or women that purchases her product, it's going to tell her that. So I really, really do like nrf.com. That's always my first go-to research site. Statisticbrain.com is it's another good portal. I mean, because you can do a lot on Statistic Brain, and when you go there, you see you can filter a lot. You can do demographic research, some industry research, but mostly product research. Now, when you go to Statistic Brain, it's only going to give you a snapshot of data, but it will provide you with the source. And then when you see the source link, you click on it, it's going to redirect you to that source, and then you can get more detailed information. Statista, I like for it gives you a snippet, and then of course they want you to buy. If you want more, then of course they're going to want you to buy it. But I think from my research, what I found just under the free version of what they provide is a lot of good data that you can use without having to make that investment. But more importantly, when you're looking at what is the value of your industry, it does provide you that information within that snippet. So it will tell you, okay, let's say the wine industry for the last 6 years was, growing at 75%. By 2022, either it was growing or it was declining, but then it is expected to grow to, let's say $2.5 billion by year 2025, something, to that effect. So it does give you that information. So when you're looking for that information to include in your, what was that? In the product summary section, that's where you'll find that information, like the value of your industry. That's where you would find that information. So those are my good 3 sites for product and market trends. And then again, looking for growth opportunity, right? And so when you think about growth opportunities, when you're doing the research, look 3 years out and see if you're going to your industry association's website and it's, stating, for example, if you are in the retail industry, there are going to be some new technology that's going to be emerging within the next 2-3 years. All right, well, that. Let's start researching. Let's look into this new technology, see what it's about, see if this is something that our company can afford, if it's something that's going to benefit the company, because then that may be an opportunity for you to differentiate yourself from your competitors. Because if you've already done the research and this technology is going to be available in the next 2-3 years, something you can start saving for and working towards, your counterparts may not be aware of this. So this gives you that competitive advantage to invest into a technology that will soon be available and help your company be more efficient and effective. You can start marketing that, by year 1, you can, hey, our company will soon be, whatever the name of the technology, representative, or this is, we will soon be incorporating this new technology into our company. So when you're looking at your growth opportunities, think about the ways in which you can use this as a competitive advantage, but also as a way that you can differentiate yourself from your counterparts. Now, your potential barriers can be things like, of course, lawsuits. I'm sorry, not lawsuits, capital, competitors, of course, but then you have substitutes and you have IP, right? So let's say, for example, if you are a dressmaker and you have this, particular style that you develop, but as a part of that, this new style that you're creating, there is a widget that you need to, whether it's for sewing or for cutting, creating your patterns, whatever that may be, there may be a widget that you need. But to buy this widget, it may cost $20,000, right? And so that would be a potential barrier for you because you don't have $20,000. So now you got to try to find funding to get the $20,000 to buy this widget so that you can, incorporate this to develop your line of clothing. That's a potential barrier. Substitutes are alternatives. Substitutes are alternative to your product, and it's not necessarily a competitor product, but it can be a scenario where, let's say you make wine, right? You're in the wine business. Well, now they have, and you've had, these regular clients that have a membership with you, and you generate a lot of revenue through this membership, with this base. But now the economy is taking a turn. And so you have clients that have families and they have this membership and it may have been $59 a month. They're going to look at that $59. Okay, that's a loaf of bread, though, that's eggs, that's milk, right? Or it can be gas. gas money that they can use and put back into their fund. So they're going to stop their subscription with you because they need to redirect those funds somewhere else. So what are they going to do? They like their wine. Well, guess what? There are new wine kits that people can purchase, and they can make their own wine at home. So that will be an alternative. So what then you have to think about, all right, well, if this is on the market and this can really hurt my business, how can I counter that? How can I counter this potential barrier? So when you are addressing your potential barriers in your industry, think about how you're going to counter those, right? How are you going to keep your customers from going to a competitor who have a lesser product, may not be as good, but a lesser product, much cheaper, or purchasing these wine kits and doing it themselves. So you have to come up with some alternative marketing strategies to help counter that. So all of that should be a part of your market research and your market analysis section. Now, when we're diving into your target market and your competition, I'm gonna pause there because I want to show you this slide here. So this, when I talked about the questions where I kind of did the work for you, answer these questions, 2 to 3 sentences, and you will have your marketing analysis section completed. That's different than a market research. The market research section is like the narrative, right? It's like setting the stage for your entire marketing section. So that's a little different. So your market research section is typically about a half a page. Then you go into the marketing analysis, and these are the questions that you want to answer, 2 to 3 sentences, and it's done for you. Okay, so I did that work for you. Then now you have your market segmentation. So it's really important to identify who you are targeting, right? And you should always think about more than one target audience. I like to have 3 at minimum, right? 3 different target groups. And so when you're completing your market segmentation section, what are the demographics of that market? So for example, you would list women ages 25 to 40, colon. Then you're going to describe why, or is this particular group your primary group? That means you're now targeting you're addressing their psychographics. Your age 25 to 40, they love to shop. They like quality over cost. They like to travel. They have a medium income of $85,000 a year. They are single, and they work in a high-paced professional environment, right? So that would be your first demographic. Then you come to your second demographic. Now remember, that first should always be your primary, and your primary is based on, when we're going back to the product features and benefits and who really would be a good fit for that particular product, right? But then you're also thinking about that medium income. You're thinking about their pain points and what's required to resolve their pain points. If you have that product, that should be your primary target audience. Your secondary would be that group that they don't have a crucial pain point, but they may still be willing to buy or use your product because it's on the market. It's maybe more cost effective, or maybe there are some features that they really do like within that product, but they're not going to be that loyal base. Your primary is your loyal base. So in marketing, there is a 80, 20, 30 rule. And so as a part of that 80% is the group of your time wasters, right? These are people, your secondary group, your third group. They're not really going to be loyal. They're not going to be your ambassadors. They're not going to refer people to your store or your business, but they like the product. Then you have the 30%, which is within the 80% of those people that are wasters, meaning that they will call you, waste your time because they're not really interested in making a purchase. They're just doing fact finding. They just want to find out information about your product, but they're not really interested in buying. Then you have that 20%. That 20% is the primary. And that's who I was referring to as your first demographic should be that primary person. That's the loyal person. That's the person that has the income for you. That's the person that's going to buy your product and services on a reoccurring basis. And they're going to refer people to you. That's your primary. So your secondary may be men, professional men. Your third group may be business to business. So identify your demographics, group A, group B, and group C, and then their psychographics. That's how I would structure your market segmentation page. And that should usually come out. I mean, if you have more than 3 demographics, that's perfectly fine. But you know, I would structure the way that I mentioned. Okay, and then following that, now we're going to dive into your competitive analysis. Oh, wait a minute, let me back up. I'm sorry, I did not give you your resources. What's happening here? So I'm going to put in the chat some resources for you to find your target audience. So the first one I'm going to give you is, let me put customers on there. The first one I'm going to give you is zipwho.com, zipcode.org, and let's go with city-data.com, but then there's also laedc.com because they have demographic research as well. So these are some of the sites that you can use. And now one of the things to take into consideration is that when you go to these sites, it's going to only give you a snapshot. You can also go directly to the city's website. So if you know the specific city that you want to target, you can go to their website, look under, I believe is doing business with that city, and then it lists their demographics. And it's going to give you a snapshot, and it'll tell you, how many, it'll break down by ethnicity, by income levels, the different types of businesses that are in that area, the schools that are in the area. So it gives you a snapshot of their population. Now, when you are looking at this information, one of the things that I would take into consideration, this is from a marketing perspective, you want to focus on areas that have at least a 15% population of the demographic that you're targeting. So if you're targeting women 25 to 40 that have a median income of $75,000, then look for the cities where those women are with at least a 15% population. Because if you, for example, let's say that population may be in, I don't know, let's say Santa Clarita. But yet you are targeting, let's say Los Angeles or Arizona, right? Another state. But the population is not there. So from a marketing perspective, it doesn't make sense because you're not going to make money because that population is not there. And research has shown that you want to target a location that has at minimum 15% population within that area in order for you to be successful, to really generate revenue. So just keep that in mind as you're doing your research, and go through all of the cities that you want to target. Look at them, the ones that have them, jot them down, and those are the ones that you want to include in your business plan. Suzanne had a question. I guide growers to grow healthier produce by assessing the living microbes in the soil and then creating a compost recipe to grow the microbes. They are missing. I also assist in making and applying the compost extracts to teas. and teas. That's awesome, Susan. I like that idea, and I would love to talk to you offline. So I am a certified soil food web lab technician. I see, especially for you, Susan, in today's environment, I see you as being, your service being a necessity. And I say that because I am starting to work with a lot of companies that are really trying to transform their company and their communities into sustainable environments, right? And so with what you're offering, I would try to find the companies, and well, I would say not, well, the companies, but also the cities and the counties, because they too are starting to really get into the sustainable net zero, especially here in Los Angeles, they're really getting into that. So I can really see how you can create a really good, solid, effective, efficient, profitable business plan and business with the industry that you are in. So again, I would love to talk to you offline if that is at all possible. All right, so that's it about the market segmentation. Now I wanted to move on to the competitive comparison and analysis. So as you're doing this section, these are the things that I want you to take into consideration. So who are you competing with? How will you compete with them? How does your product compare with them? Where are they located? When were they established? How does their prices compare to yours? And so when you start off with your competitive analysis section, you would just write one paragraph, just about your process, right? And how you are comparing your company to your competitors. But with that, you are going to include these bullet points. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to show you a chart following this for the competitive analysis. But when you're creating that narrative, I would list 3 competitors, and you're going to touch on all of these bullet points for each of the competitors. So competitor A, who they are, where they're located, what products or services that they are offering similar to yours, when were they established, and then what is their pricing structure? How does their pricing compare to yours? Then you should do that for each one of the competitors. Now, another thing that I would do, if they're product based, you may want to include a thumbnail of the product that you are comparing. So if you make tires, right, then you find another company that's making tires, and either that tire is similar, like, or different than yours, but it's a tire, right? So I would include thumbnails for each one of those competitors. So, and I would keep it at 3, no more than 4 competitors. And then following that would be the competitive analysis chart that I was referring to a little earlier. So with the competitive analysis chart, this is a great tool to use. I only have 1 competitor listed here, but you would include 3. And these would be the 3 that you're going to include in your narrative. And so this just gives you a wider view of how you fare to your competitors, right? So this is a short list: customer service, pricing, products, marketing, and quality of products. I've seen some clients that have a whole full page. Some have even gone into 2 pages of very specific features that they want to compare with their competitors. So you have competitor A, competitor B, competitor C, and then your business. Now, when you're completing a competitive analysis chart, you're not listing like a full narrative. You're just, keywords. If you can get a sentence in there, then that's fine, but keep it very short, because you don't want to put too much content in there, because you're already going to have addressed some of the information in the competitive narrative. But be very, very honest. That's the only thing that I ask of everyone, all of my clients and everyone that I work with business plans. Be very honest here. because I've seen people where they will, all of the competitors are just horrible. They would grade them Fs across the board, but yet they're grading themselves as As, right? They are just perfect. They have the perfect customer service. Their pricing beats their competitors. That's not doing you any justice. If anything, it's doing you injustice, because if you're not realistic about what your customer service is and what your pricing structure is, how your products fare, then how can you grow? How can you be competitive? So you want to be very, very honest with yourself when you're rating yourself. So if competitor A, let's say you do a Google search and you're going to look at review sites that they have populated on, and look at 3 to 5 posts that, for example, where customers may highlight their customer service. If they just rave about their customer service, then that is something they are very strong in. That's one of their strengths. But when it comes to their products and customers are complaining about the products, they're poorly designed. As soon as I bought it, it broke by day 2, whatever that may be, then that's a weakness. Then that's when you go to your business, you say, okay, so if their product design is a weakness, but we have similar products from a marketing perspective, how can you capitalize on that, right? So you think, when you are creating your marketing material, knowing what your competitors' weaknesses are, you're going to create a marketing strategy that really highlights their weaknesses as your strengths. So that's another strategy for identifying your competitive advantages over your competitors. Okay, so I've given you 2 good approaches to try and identify those competitive advantages that you can use under your product summary. Once you've identified your competitors, do a Google research, see where they, whatever reviews come up, review at least 3 to 5 for each of the areas that you are comparing, and that's going to help you identify their weaknesses and your competitive advantage. And I guarantee you, it's always a win-win when you do it when you have that approach. All right, so for your strategy and implementation. Oh, and by the way, when you're creating, oh gosh, I keep forgetting to give you guys the resources. When you are creating your competitive analysis chart, this is something you can create in Excel or in Microsoft Word, right? So it's not anything fancy, it's just a simple chart, and you create your columns and your rows, okay? So for your competitive analysis, I would use, let me put this in your competitive. Competitive research. Manta, MANTA.com, and sizeup.com. So I like Manta. Manta is a great resource for 2 purposes. One, I like Manta because one, you can find a lot of information about your competitors. So for example, when you're doing your competitive analysis, when you go to Manta, you would type in the type of, products or services you offer. Then you can filter it by location. So by city, it is national. So you can do it by city or by state. Then it's going to tell you who the owners are, when they were established, what their annual revenue, their average annual revenue is. It will also tell you about their products and services. It may tell you who their competitors are. And it oftentimes will tell you who their target customers are. And so that will help you as you're completing the competitive comparison section, that information can help you there. Now, when you're doing that, when you're in Manta and you're doing the research, make sure that you are looking at companies that have been in business. If you're a startup, 1 to 3 years. If you've been in, business, 3-5 years, then 3+ years or 5+ years. Okay, because otherwise it's just not going to make sense to you. The other good way to use Manta is if you are B2B, business to business, then this is a great opportunity for you to generate a free leads list, right? So let's say if you're targeting, let's say cafes, right? Community eateries. You can type in cafes in whatever city you're targeting, and then you're going to get a whole list, and it's going to give you that same information. It's going to give you the owner's name. It'll give you a telephone number. Maybe their direct number. It will give you their website. You may get the email address. It will also provide you with, I mentioned their annual revenue, because if you're targeting a business, a few things you want to know. Well, in terms of demographics, like for me, I would target businesses that have, let's say been in business 3 years, have about 5+ employees that are national and may have an annual revenue of $1.5 million, right? So set your demographic requirement for a B2B just as you would if you were targeting a consumer. It's just a little different because with the business, you're looking at their business makeup, whereas a consumer, you're looking at their personal and physical demographics. So those are the difference between the two. With Size Up is a great resource if you want to know what your market share or what your competitors' market shares are. So for example, you would go to sizeup.com, you put in your information, then towards the end, after you've included all of your information, it's going to populate a chart, and it will, give you some analytics, and it'll tell you, okay, how you fare up with your with the competitors within a certain range of you. It will tell you who they are. It doesn't give you as much information as Manta, but it does give you some pretty good information, but it also tell you what their market share is. So you want to know who has the highest market share, and then that's the one competitor that you want to consider as your major competitor. Really get to know, how are they marketing? What marketing channels are they using? What kind of programs and services do they have? How many locations do they have? So really get to know who they are, because if they have the highest market share, then that means they're doing something right. And you want to know what that right is, so that you are not recreating the wheel, but you're kind of taking a similar model and tweaking it to your own, but you're not using their exact model. You're just using components of it to help you get to that same level where they are, or beyond. Okay, so Size Up is a really great site to try to identify market share. Now for your no worries, Caroline. Thank you for joining us. For your strategy and implementation, I'm not going to go through all of these questions, kind of like what I did with the market analysis section. I've listed all of the questions here for you. Answer them 2 to 3 sentences, and you have this section completed. Your strategy and implementation should not be more than a half page. Okay. Then you have the strategy section. So this one is a little bit more, this is going to come out to probably about 1.5 pages. I did the questions for you, answer them 2 to 3 sentences, and the work is done. You'll have this section completed. So because I found that this was one of the most challenging, these were some of the most challenging questions, or the marketing section was the most challenging section for most people, because they ended up making the content, it was just always redundant information. And when you're creating a business plan, you don't want to be redundant in your information. So I like this approach so that I can help you avoid being redundant in your content. So that's why I thought creating the questions for you to help you develop this section would be more advantageous to you as you're developing your business plan. And this is going to help carve out a good 80 hours of work time ideally to create a business plan, it's anywhere from 80 to 120 hours. So the approach that I'm giving you today, that's going to really carve out a lot of that time for you to get through. And this is the second page of the strategy section. So I'm not going to go through this. So now for time purposes, I want to move on to the promotional strategy, which this is the section that you are going to use. So when you're creating your marketing or promotional strategy, so to speak, you're really just listing the channels that you're going to use. So once you've identified who your customers are, remember, meet your customers where they're at, right? So don't think about what's trending, because what's trending may not be a good fit for your company. So think about who your customers are and meet them where they're at. So if you're targeting women who love to travel, then you're going to look at sites like, of course, LinkedIn. You may look at, may want to advertise in travel magazines. You want to look at online travel sites that you can advertise on. So versus using, let's say Facebook, they may not be on Facebook. Especially if they're professional women, you're more likely to find them on LinkedIn. So again, think about where your customers are and meet them where they're at and not what's trending. So you're going to list all of the different channels, and then you're going to include 1 to 2 sentences describing what the expected outcome is for using that particular channel. So here I have, some simple ones like, some of the most common advertising, your brochure, direct mail, community engagement, but really think outside of the box here, right? So I said I wanted to give you guys some other marketing ideas, and that's what I want to do. And one in particular that I want to share with you guys is having a mobile app. No matter what your company is, every company should have a mobile app. So I'm going to give you some resources for a mobile app. And hold on, I'm going to find my page here so I can give you that. And the ones that I'm going to give you, I think you will find a lot of value in, because they are very user-friendly. You don't have to have any coding experience. These are drag and drop. So you can create your content in Word and then copy and paste into the platform. They have templates, so you can mobile app. So you can actually design the mobile app, the different, if you want to do a banner, if you want to do video, if you want to do forms, you can structure it any way you want to. So I absolutely love these platforms for their usability. So the first one I'm going to give you is Magmito, magmito.com. The next one is apps, appsgeyer.com. And the other one is Good Barber, barber.com. So again, they're user-friendly. They have templates, so you can filter it by your industry or the kind of product you have. And if you don't find a template that you like, I would just find a template that is similar to something that you want. And then you can change colors, you can change the functionality, you can change it around. But it just makes it easier if you find a template that already have the blocks or the features that you want, so that you don't have to start from a blank template. The other thing that you can do is, let's say if you have a website already, there will be a place where you can put in your URL, and it will extract everything from your website into the mobile app and convert it into a mobile app. So some people like that because it makes it a little bit more convenient for your clients to access versus having to try to get online to your website, especially if they don't have access to internet. The other thing about these 3 sites, for a small fee, they will convert your app to conform with Apple's requirements and Google Store's requirements, which is really cool. The other option is, let's say you may not want it on any of the app stores. You only want to make it available to your clients. So for example, let's take Susan. She has a very unique business. So with her, she may want to create more of an education app, right? And so there are like form templates that she can use, or she can create her own forms. She can create courses using these mobile app templates. And so she may just want to create these courses for anyone that subscribe onto her website or her membership, and she'll send them a link to download the mobile app, and they have it right there on their phone. So whenever she updated with new compost, tips or information or recipes, of that nature, every time she updated, it's automatically going to update on their app. So it's really, really, really cool, to have, these resources. So I wanted to share that with you guys, so you have that. And then I also would recommend that you think about adding some type of live chat feature on your website. So I'm going to put a couple in here that I like. One is livechat.com. Another one is freshworks.com. And so the good thing about the live chat forums is because one, it helps it. One, let me move on here, because this is where this really ties into your sales strategy, right? Because you think about, if you have the chat on your website, this allows you to engage real time with your customers. It also allows you to close a sale on your website. So think about when you go to your to a website and you see that little hand, hi, hey, I'm here. Any questions? That's what that is. So they are engaging with you. So you think about, if you have this on your website and a customer goes on and say, hey, I have a question that's not in your FAQ about one of your products. And if they can't get in contact with you at that moment, what's going to happen? They're going to leave your website and they're going to go to one of your competitors' website, who may have a number that they can call directly, or someone that will be able to engage with them real time and close a deal. So these are the two that I really like. They are more affordable, and they have a lot of great features, even for the basic service that you can really utilize. So really consider doing something like that on your website as well. And then the last one I want to share with you is what I call my best kept secret, is flipboards.com. So flipboard.com is a digital, a digital board, right? So it's like, when I was, many years ago, I used to always say, one day I'm gonna have a billboard, off the freeway. But when I did the research and saw what it cost, I was like, okay, I guess that's not gonna work for me. But then I discovered Flipboard. And what Flipboard is designed for is not a contractual platform, but they have these digital billboards everywhere. And when you register, when you set up your campaign can be as low as $20 a day. So $20 a day would get you roughly 1,300 to 1,500 impressions. That means it's going to flip 1,300 to 1,500 times a day, depending on how many on your budget. So you set the budget how you want it. You can create your campaign. They even, for $75, they will create the billboard for you. And all you have to do is just select the areas where you want that your ad to show. So I call it a best kept secret, because it's just not being widely utilized by small business owners. And so I wanted to share that with you as another good marketing resource as well. All right, so I'm coming to the end here, guys. The one other thing about the marketing section that I want to share with you is to make sure that you have a marketing budget and your milestone worksheet. So the marketing budget is separate from your financials, from the P&L and your balance sheet. That's separate. This is primarily for your marketing. What channels you're going to use, how often you're going to use these channels, what you're going to pay for, those channels, and then how long are they going to run. So that's your marketing budget. Then you have the milestone worksheet. The milestone worksheet, you're going to list literally everything that you need to implement and execute your business plan. I mean, everything from what you have in your vision, your goals and your objectives, your marketing strategy, all of those things should be included here in your milestone worksheet. And it can be created either on Excel or in Word. There's no special form for it, but you're listing the task and the due date. And if you're going to assign it to someone else or you're going to delegate it, then you're going to have another column for the manager of that particular task. So very, very simple. I've seen clients that were so really cool. Okay, wait a minute. Let me make sure that I have it correctly. It may be blip. Oh, here it is. Yep, there's an S on there. So thank you, Susan. It is blipboards.com. Where did you go? Yeah, blipboards.com. There you go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so your milestone worksheet can be a half a page, it can be a page, it can be 2 pages. So it's perfectly fine. There's no page limit there. Then you have your operational section. For the operational section, all of these things may not apply to you, so only address the ones that do apply to you. Okay. If you are in products and you're doing production, include where your products are going to be produced. Even if you're a reseller, how are they going to be produced? If it's resale, you want to list the manufacturers that you're going to purchase them from, where the manufacturing plant is located. You also want to address quality control, and that is for everyone, no matter if you're service-based or product-based. You want to address the quality control, and it's just one paragraph describing how you're going to ensure that your customer is going to get a quality product and that they're going to have a quality experience at the end of their service. And that's it. Product development goes with your production, your inventory control. If you're product-based, you want to list how many units are you going of each of these products are you going to keep on hand? Are you going to make sure that you always have 100 units of each of these products on hand at all times? And this is important from a financing perspective, because if you can demonstrate that you're always going to have a certain inventory level on hand at all times, then you are assuring that financier that you are going to have continuous cash flow, right? So there's not going to be a break in your cash flow, because when you get to, if you have 200 units in inventory, but now you're down to 101, then it's time to reorder. But that's not going to stop the flow of your cash flow, because you're giving yourself ample time to order new inventory. So that's going to be very, very, very key here. And then you have your facility. If you're going to have a brick and mortar, make sure that you list the kind of the layout, the floor plan of that facility. I would include the floor plan in the business plan itself, but yet include it in the appendices, and you just reference it in your operational plan. Talk about the colors, the size, the lighting, how many parking spaces are you going to have, and make sure to include your ADA compliance, right? So if you're going to have a wheelchair ramp, if you're going to have those little, what they call those bubbles that are on the concrete to help people in wheelchair be more stable, if you're going to have an elevator, right? So you want to make sure that you're including your ADA compliance as a part, with your store location. Personnel here, you're just describing, are you going to need retailers, engineers? What kind of personnel are you going to need or require? List at least 3 suppliers, who they are, what supplies they are providing you with, and then where they're located. And then for your technology, this is both software and hardware. That includes QuickBooks if you're using Microsoft Access for your CRM, if you're going to use Excel to manage your cash flow. If you are using some other type of softwares to manage your business, you want to include that. Okay, so hardware and software. And also include your website. And for your website, you're just going to describe your website, how many pages you have, what is going to be the functionality of your website, what is the intention, what are your goals for the website, and of course driving traffic. But a part of that, is it generating sales, is it just engagement, or will it just be for informational purposes? So talk about your website as well. Here for your management section, I always recommend including a organizational chart for at least a 5-year plan, right? And so your organizational chart should include both internal and external teams, right? So, and your external could be contractors that you hire, independent contractors, or if you're going to outsource, for example, your marketing, right? You're going to outsource it to a marketing company, then I would recommend that you color code. If you're going to outsource any aspects of your information, I would definitely say make sure to color code them. So whoever reading it, they'll know that, okay, the green signifies this is going to be your internal team, and then the orange signifies your external team. Okay, so they'll know. And then I would also recommend, if you're going to have, like other managers, people that are going to help make day-to-day decisions on behalf of your company or certain departments, include, a brief paragraph in the business plan under your management plan section. Include a brief paragraph about their experience, who they are, what are some of their successes, what is their education. You really have to highlight why they're qualified to be in that position. And this is important for lenders in general, when it comes to management and your team. You're going to talk about your staffing requirements, any job descriptions, include them in your appendices. When you talk about your human performance standards or your measurement, you can just, one paragraph. You also want to talk about, how you're going to recruit or build your team, right? So what kind of training you're going to include or provide to them as you onboard them. So your management section can come out to be a page to a page and a half, not including the organization. And then here I would include a professional advisory team. This is your external team. You think about those service providers. So if you have an attorney, your accountant, insurance person, these are your advisory service providers, people that are helping to support the business, whether you're paying them or not, but you want to consider them as your advisory support team. And then your personnel plan, list the type of employees that you're going to have, how many hours you expect them to work, and then who's going to manage them. And that can be a simple chart, a simple table that you can create. And then lastly, ladies and gentlemen, coming to a close here, your financial plan. So with the financial plan, if you're going to use this for financing, just something to note, anyone that has more than 90% interest or ownership in your company will be required to provide the same documents that you are required in terms of a personal financial statement and the tax returns. From a business perspective, you have to include 3 years income forecast and a 3-year P&L and a 3-year balance sheet. Now, year one, it should be month to month. So meaning month 1 through month 12. And then year 2 and 3, you want to summarize. So you don't have to do the month to month. You can summarize year 2 and 3. Following that, you're going to include financial assumptions. Financial assumptions is a narrative for each of your financial statements, right? So you're going to write maybe, a paragraph explaining how you derived at the numbers for your income forecast, a paragraph how you derived at the numbers for your P&L, and the same for your balance sheet. Then there is your source and use table. This tells the lender how you're going to use the funds that you're trying to borrow. So when you're creating your source and use table, you can do this in Word or Excel. It should be, you want to categorize your source and use table, meaning if you need to purchase equipment, so you're trying to borrow $150,000, you got to list equipment, let's say inventory, marketing, what else you would probably office supplies. So don't itemize them, categorize them. And you're going to list the amount you're going to spend on each one of those categories. And it should come out to 150,000, not 151, not 149,000. It has to be dollar for dollar. So your source and use table is really going to tell the lender how you're going to use their funds when you receive them. Now, it's not that they're going to hold you to that, because it's not written in stone, but you're just saying that I'm allocating funds for these categories. So it may differ, but at least you're giving them an idea of how you're going to use their money. Okay. Yes, RMA, I absolutely love RMA. So thank you for including that, Catherine. RMA is a great resource for financial statements. Actually, when I started my my career in financing, I went through several of the RMA classes, certification classes, and learned a lot. So that's where I really learned a lot about developing financials and working with financials and things of that nature. So thank you for sharing that. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my presentation here. If you are interested in learning more about the SBDC, you can go to cocsbdc.org, or you can call our office if you are interested in becoming a client. And any one of the ladies can help you, or you can just go to our website and apply. And just keep in mind, all of our advisory services is 100% free. So you never have to pay to meet with an advisor at all. And we are also utilized as a team for a lot of our clients, right? So especially if you're sole proprietor, you don't have a team and you don't have a budget to hire an attorney or a consultant. Well, that's why we're here. We exist for that very purpose. So if you're not a client of the SBDC, please consider becoming one, whether it's our agency or some other agency. We do work virtual with a lot of our clients. We have clients all over. So it's not a case where you have to be living in the city or the state where that SBDC resides. You are free to participate in any SBDC that works virtually. All right, are there any questions for me? I know I have given you guys quite a mouthful. So any questions for me before I end this at all? Thank you so much. All right, well then, if there are no questions, I wish all of you the best of luck on your business and the success of developing your business plan. And please remember that you are more than welcome to reach out to our organization if you need help with developing your business plan. Susan had a question. How about writing contract forms for customers? Where should I go for that? I think I have a source for you. Hold on just a second. Oh, Jot forms. I'm gonna put that in here if you're not familiar with this. It is called Jot forms. It's a great one that I would recommend. Jotforms.com. With Jot forms, it allows you, oh, I put Jot form, it's Jot forms. Jot form allows you to customize, both hard copy and digital forms, right? So if you want to create forms that you can, send to your clients or put on your website, Jot forms is really a great platform for that. I love their usability. It is very user friendly. It's easy to use. So that would be the one that I would definitely recommend. Thank you, Erica, Susan. Thank you guys so much. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, again, I wish you all the best, much success on your business plan. And if you need any support, please feel free to reach out to our SBDC, and I would be more to help you with that. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your week.